Welcome back to the channel. As part of my course on becoming a part-time YouTuber, we have to obviously lodge videos for feedback. And one of the videos, or first one, was to do something on our favorite things. And I have a lot of favorite things, but the one I decided on was this picture. It's a picture of my mentor, Jim Rohn, and myself here on the Gold Coast in Queensland, and it was taken probably about 35 years ago, so that's quite some time ago. And the reason it's one of my favorite things is that Mr. Rohn had a huge impact on my life, and in fact he still does. He's passed on now, but he still has very much a daily influence on my life. Why this picture is one of my favorite things probably needs to be put into context, and to do that we need to go back about 40 years when I was doing a science degree in Melbourne University in biochemistry and microbiology, and in my third year I needed a part-time job. I ended up at the Pancake Parlour in Melbourne, and I loved it. Really enjoyed working with the other young people there, and it was really go, go, go. When I finished my degree, I actually decided to stay there and I became a manager. And then one day I had what a gentleman called Michael Gerber in his book, The E-Myth, called an entrepreneurial seizure. Now that's when you wake up and you think, why am I working for someone else when I could be my own boss, doing what I'm doing and keeping all the money? Problem is, of course, it's never that easy. But I grabbed two partners and off we went. We actually started our own pancake parlour, obviously under a different name. And guess what? It actually worked. Surprise, surprise. I got a bit cocky, and so then we started a second and a third, and I lost the partners along the way. And essentially the third wasn't so good, and I was really looking at possible bankruptcy. Went through some very dark days in those days, and even considered at one stage driving my car off the road and hitting a tree because I couldn't get rid of that feeling of depression that just sits in your stomach. Anyway, it took me a few years to go through that, and then at the end of that I started to realise, well, maybe I didn't know everything. I should probably do a bit of a study or find out a little bit more about business. And around that time, Tony Robbins was hosting a one-day seminar here in Melbourne. So I went along, and it was a fun day, as you can imagine, with Tony, very energetic. But at the end of it, they handed out a 6-pack of cassettes. You don't have them anymore, but in those days they were cassettes. And I still remember, as I was driving home, putting in this cassette by a gentleman called Jim Rohn. And that cassette was to change my life forever. I still remember the exact place. I still drive past there now sometimes, where I actually put that cassette in the car, and I heard Mr. Rohn say for the first time, if you want more, you must become more. As he put it, the winds that blow, the pandemic winds, the economic winds, the recessionary winds, those winds, they blow for everybody, regardless of who you are. But the only way to harness those winds and make the most of them is to learn to set a better sail. And that's what Mr. Rohn did. He taught me how to learn a better sail. And not long after I've heard that cassette, he was actually doing his full weekend seminar up here on the Gold Coast. And so I decided to attend. And that weekend changed my life forever. I've never been the same since. And so that's why, and the man was good enough. He actually waited. He must have waited an hour and a half after the seminar finished. He actually waited there with everybody until they got their photos. So, and no one had smartphones in those days. It was all, cameras or those Instamatics that you could dispose, take 12 pictures and throw away. But everybody wanted a photo, and Mr. Rohn, to his credit, waited patiently till everybody had their photo. And fortunately, I've still got mine. And that's why it's one of my favorite things, and why it sits in a place of honor on my library at home. Many of the things that Mr. Rohn taught me and shared with me will form the subject matter of future videos. So I look forward to catching up with you then. Thanks again for watching.